everyone, I hope you're well. We're going to be talking today all about ISAs, and whilst they're a relatively simple part of financial planning, I think they're also a really crucial part of financial planning. So I wanted to talk you through the things that we talk to clients about when it comes to ISAs. And just so you know, if you have any questions, please put them in the Q&A box. Natalie will be manning the Q&A and also the webinar chat just to make sure that nobody gets forgotten about. So a little bit about me if you don't know me already. I'm a financial advisor, the owner of 𝗟𝗏𝘀 Wealth, and I've been a financial advisor now, 20 more years or so, and I've won some awards in the industry as well, and I've got something called the Fellowship of the PFS, which is just the highest level of qualification you can get through the Personal Finance Society. Obviously today is all about information. It's not financial advice. We can only give financial advice when that is on a one-to-one basis and we understand your situation completely. So this is just for information and just to make you feel comfortable. I can see there's some people here who I don't know. So 95% of our clients, when they first get in touch, have never ever had financial advice before. So we've really built our onboarding process to really hold your hand and take you through from first meeting us to then us writing your financial plan and then for you understanding that financial plan. So don't be nervous to get in touch if you feel that we can help in any way. So diving straight in, there are quite a few different types of ISAs. Most people know the cash ISA, the stocks and shares ISA, and quite possibly the junior ISA as well. But I think the ones that get forgotten about are the innovative finance ISA, and the lifetime ISA is not spoken about as much. So you have a £20,000 ISA allowance every year. And the cash ISA is obviously what it says on the tin. You keep your money in cash. It's not going to go down in value if markets are behaving like they're behaving right now. But at the same time, it's going to go up with the interest that you have in the account. Stocks and shares ISAs are ones that are invested. The junior ISAs is for those who are under 18. Innovative finance ISAs are there to promote peer-to-peer lending and to help stimulate business productivity, I suppose. And then lifetime ISAs there are sort of this halfway house between an ISA and a pension, and they can help you to buy your first property, and the government will give you a bonus for it. So we'll go through them in a second. The maximum, as I said, you can pay into an ISA is £20,000 a year. And so say I've got a cash ISA and a stocks and shares ISA, and I want to pay equally into them, then I'm going to be able to do 10,000 into the cash ISA, 10,000 into the stocks and shares ISA. ISA allowances don't roll over into following tax years, so it's a use it or lose it situation with ISAs. And then the new rule that's coming in next year in 2027 is for those of us who are under 65, the cash ISA allowance, which is now currently 20,000, it's going to be capped at 12,000 to encourage us all to invest rather than just to keep our money in cash. A little bit of a carrot is we see frequently ISA millionaires in our day-to-day advice with clients. There are approximately 5,000 ISA millionaires in the UK, and the average ISA millionaire has over 1.3 million in their pot. If you wonder how did they ever get that much in, either they've had amazing returns, but also they probably predate ISAs, and so Teslas and PEPs have all been sort of bulked into that as well. So understanding where ISAs fit into your plan. So if you need the money that you're putting money away for in the next 3 to 5 years, cash is the most likely solution for you. The reason is if your time horizon is short, you don't have time on your side to recover from an economic crisis, something like that. So during the credit crunch, it was very common for clients' portfolios to take 18 months or even 2 years to fully get back to where it was before the crisis. So you need to have time on your side so that you're not cashing out at a low. You also need to think, what is the purpose of the money? So can I, excuse me, can I lock it up for, say, 6 months, 1 year, 2 years to try to get a better rate of return with the tranche that you don't need for that time frame? According to the Yorkshire Building Society, this is quite a shocking number. There's £43 billion sat in poorly paying interest rates. So it's a really good task is to make sure if you've got cash ISAs, that you're putting them in the best accounts that you possibly can, but also make sure that you then put it in your diary to review that a year later or whenever that deal is up, to make sure that you don't fall into these poorly performing accounts. The last point that I've put here is don't forget about your personal savings allowance, because ISAs are great because they're tax-free. They protect whatever's inside it from tax. But we also get a personal savings allowance. So if you're earning less than 50,000, you're allowed to make £1,000 a year in interest before you pay any tax anyway. So if you've got a small ISA, especially a cash ISA, is there a way for you to get more interest by actually just using a regular savings account rather than the ISA? The best savings accounts that I managed to find for ISAs, so an easy access was Trading 212 at 4.43%. This was as of yesterday. Tesco's at 2.97% as well. And then if you want to switch, if you want to put this money away for a year, I found Virgin at 4.65%, and then Furness is a 2-year fixed rate at 4.07. So the alert ones of you'll notice that the longer you're tying it up for, the lower the rate is, and that's obviously showing that the market, at least yesterday, believed that interest rates are going to come down. But I suppose we'll see what happens with this war and what that war does to inflation and therefore interest rates. Somebody's just asked in the chat, what are the best ISAs for children currently? So if you go on Money Saving Expert, if you want to save in cash for children, you'll see a whole list there of the best junior ISAs on the market. However, a thing to really to question yourself is, what's the purpose of this money? So if the children are young, say at primary school or early secondary school, you quite possibly have more than 3 to 5 years to go until they need the money. If so, you might want to consider investing it as well, and considering an investment junior ISA instead. So I'll go to this one. So this is, if you're going to invest the money, you need at least 3 to 5 years before you needing to have the money. And there's this, a company called Best Invest, and regularly they do a survey called Spot the Dog. And the last one that I found was February 25. And in February 25, they reviewed all the different funds out there in the market, and they said which ones aren't performing well, i.e. which ones are taking a fee but not necessarily doing so well in exchange for that fee. They found that there were 137 poorly performing funds, and within those funds there was £67.44 billion. So the same applies. Don't just buy and forget about it. It's really important, especially with your investments, that you're keeping on top of them and making sure that they're performing as well as can be. This is from last year, the Best Invest report, but I'll just read out the names of the funds, the top 10 funds that they highlighted as being on the dog list. So in size order, there was the SJP Global Quality Fund with nearly £10 billion in that pot. Followed by the SJP Sustainable and Responsible Equity Fund, then the Fidelity Global Special Situations, Lion Trust Special Situations, then Lindsell Train UK Equity. I've actually just been doing some research for a client today who's in this for his kids, and it hadn't performed very well actually over a 5-year time frame. The Fidelity Asia, JP Morgan Emerging Markets, BNY Mellon, long-term growth, the Janus Henderson Global Sustainable Equity, and number 10 was the CT American Fund. So if any of those names caught your attention, you can either find them in the Best Investing report and download the Spot the Dog report, or you can use a website called trustnet.com, and on there you can see how that fund is performing against a benchmark. So my top tips for looking at the ISA for a medium-term investment would be, how would you react if markets fall? So it's not uncommon when markets correct for falls of 20+%, and if that were to happen to you, how would you react? Because the main thing is that when markets fall, you don't overreact and you stick to the plan that you set out on in the first place. If markets were going to take a couple of years to recover, would you need to change your plans at all? So this is something that you want to be looking at annually at least, looking at your investments and your cash and saying, have I got enough cash for the short term and for my plans? And do I need to switch anything around? If you're already invested, how well are you diversified? I reviewed a portfolio last week for a new client, brand new client, and she's in a 50-50 split just between the US and the UK, and we determined that she wasn't very well diversified at all. And then the last one is to consider, what platform are you on? What charges are you paying? Does the platform give you all the functionality that you need, and are the charges reasonable? And you can find all this information out. Sort of Compare the Platform is a good website to have a look at as well. And then lastly, I think this part is what people often forget about, is that ISAs are amazing for the long term. And long term is typically something that's 5 to 15 years away at least. And if money in your ISA is for the long term, would you take a different attitude to risk with that pot, for example? But also what I really want to show you now is how amazing ISAs are as a complementary product to your pension in retirement, and how they can really, really help you to control your tax. But also with pensions hitting the headlines because they're going to be part of your inheritable estate, inheritance taxable estate. A great thing about ISAs is that you can transfer between spouses just like you can with pensions on death of the first spouse. So the ISA allowance doesn't die with you if you're married. So this is how income tax works. Nil tax up to 12,500 a year. The next slice on the money between 12,500 and 50, you're paying 20% tax. 40% tax above that all the way to 100. Then you get into this really horrendous 60% tax bracket that even clients who are in that don't know. And if you're in this 60% tax bracket, next month's webinar is all going to be about pension planning for people that are earning above 100,000. The one after that are for those lucky to be earning over 200,000. So we'll help you with this in the next month's webinar. And then over 45% on those ones over. So this is an example of somebody who has £1 million in pension at the top. And on top of that, they pay £20,000 a year into their ISA for 15 years. The one below is where they just have the £1 million in their pension. They want to spend £60,000 a year in retirement. So if we go back to this category, if they're taking all their money out their pension, they're paying some 40% tax on their money. The benefit of the ISA in this example is squirreling away extra money for your retirement as it closes the gap. The red here shows the shortfall. So this person with £1 million, £60,000 a year from the age of 62, they're going to start running out of money at 85 if their pot's only growing at 4% a year, or 91 if they did this extra 15 years of contributions. But the most important thing is if I hover here over age 84, this one, where the bottom person ran out of money just with the pension, and compare that with the person who had those extra years worth of ISA contributions. Of course, they have more because they've saved more, But if I just look at exactly that moment in time up till age 84, the bottom person has paid £266,000 in tax during their retirement, whereas the top person who had the ISA has only paid £179,000 in tax in retirement. And this is really important, and the reason is because I was able to take money out of this person's pension up to the basic rate tax threshold, and then only pay and then take the excess from the ISA. So it allowed me the flexibility to keep them as a basic rate taxpayer. So do not dismiss ISAs for long term. Obviously make sure you're getting your pension tax relief as well, but it's a really nice addition to pension planning. A scary fact that we use all the time is close to 50% of people over 40 will not have enough saved for a comfortable retirement. And if you want to know what a comfortable retirement is, you can take a look at Which. It's all based on Which's research. And it's really important to think of the scary question, which 50% are you in? And if we can help you with that, do let us know. We do a financial diagnosis session, which is just a one-off session for £500, where we model at what point, if you keep doing what you're doing, at what point do you start to run out of money in retirement? Or what investment returns do you need to fulfill your goals in retirement? Or what do you need to save extra? Or if you don't want to save extra, what are you already on track to spend? So in this example, if this person retired at 55, they're on track for £58,000 a year in retirement. If they retired at 60, £77,000 a year. So we can really help you get to grips with how well you're doing. So if you have a moment to think about what your biggest takeaway, I can see a question there in the chat, which I'll answer in a minute, but please do have a think about what's your biggest takeaway, what have you learned from today, and what action will you take to make sure your time is worth it. If you want to learn more about money, you can follow me on Instagram. We do lots of hints and tips on Instagram. We also do a fortnightly newsletter as well, so sign up for all of those free things. If you would like to, obviously feel free to book a financial diagnosis session as well. So I'll just go to the questions now. So this question is, I've transferred a share save to ISA, NatWest stocks and shares, valued at 9,000, and also have a cash ISA. Seeing share prices drop now by 1,000. So when is the value calculated? If today value is 14, but it was 18 at the time of transfer, how much can I put in before the end of the tax year? So it's about the value going in. So if you've got £20,000 allowance and you've transferred in 9, you're going to have £11,000 of ISA allowance. So regardless of what the value of the investment is, it's about the value of the money going into the ISA between the 6th of April and the 5th of April the following year. So any more questions before we go? I can see we're sort of 3 minutes over, but I do thank everyone for coming along. And if you would like to come to either the pension planning for those earning over 100 or those earning over 200, emails will be coming out as well, so you can book. Lovely. Well, thank you for coming. Bye.